All right, and we are underway. Welcome everybody to What Keeps You Up at Night, Entrepreneurship During Challenging Times. Episode number 23. Gosh, we've been at this for more than a dozen weeks now, and I hope we're getting better at it. I'll let you decide out there if that is the case. My name is Colin Weston. I am the co-founder and community leader for Startup Vancouver, which is one of over 40 chapters of Startup Canada across the country. And Startup Canada, if you don't know, is the voice for the over 3.5 million entrepreneurs in the country. And our why and our purpose, like the sign says here behind me, is to connect entrepreneurs to each other, to resources, mentors, events, both regionally, locally, provincially, and nationally. And that's what we're doing today with our show. Even though we've got mostly a Vancouver flavor here, we do have Steph Lyster, who is holed up in cottage country in Ontario. So we've got 3 time zones involved here today. So I like to think this is a truly Canadiana experience here. So I'm going to share my screen here very quickly here to do a couple of community announcements and some introductions, and then we're going to get rolling as we always do. All right. Reza, my friend, I'll let you be the one that decides if that's, there we go. I got it in one, that's the first time I've got it in one shot. Look at me, improvements. So as we have there, I have, you saw everybody on screen there in the gallery view. Today we have 2 fabulous guests. I know both of these women, quite well, and I've had a chance to have them participate in other Startup Vancouver events back in the time where we can actually meet in person in a venue. Remember those times? Yeah, we actually did that. So Pearly Tang is the founder and director of XL Student Solutions, but she's also expanded that beyond into other entrepreneurial endeavors, which I'm not going to talk about quite yet. I am going to mention that when her and I have a chat the second half of the show. And we also have Stephanie, or Steph Lyster, who is the CEO and co-founder of AnswerBar, who does fabulous work to empower everyone with HR solutions. And Reza, my good friend and Tuesday co-host, is going to have a chat with Steph in just a moment here to start off today's show. As we always do, how's everybody hanging in there? Is everybody doing okay? And I know we say this every single time with a different picture on there usually, but we're very sincere when we ask this, because these are unprecedented times, and to show patience, to show empathy, to show kindness is something that takes courage and takes effort. And a lot of people are doing it out there. A lot of entrepreneurs are doing this within our innovation ecosystem. And please continue to do so. Help each other. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to each other. And yeah, this is going back and forth and up and down of where we are with COVID. But these things will ease, and we will get to a place where we can get together again and meet in real life. I look forward to that day, but until then, that's one of the reasons why we do this show, is to connect you in a bit of a fun and light way, but also in an informative and inspirational one. So for the feedback we've got so far, over 22 episodes, sounds like we're doing okay on that, but we can always improve, which is why we want your feedback as the attendees of the show. Startup Vancouver, best way to get a hold of us is through social media, where we're very active, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. Also, our LinkedIn page, we're very active there with all our events and also the other ones that happen locally and nationally in our community. And we're also now very active on our YouTube channel, which has all of our previous episodes, and we'll be posting this one. If you liked it so much, you want to see it twice, please do. So we do encourage you to check out the content that we have on there on our YouTube channel. And while you're there, please subscribe, add some comments there. It will just help us expand what we're doing there, and we can continue to build and add more awesome content for you. And hey, if you're out there and you know people that you would think would be a great fit as guests on this show, or even maybe you think you'd be a great guest on this show, let us know. We'd love to talk to you. We love to have this as an interactive and engaging half-hour conversation. So while we're going here, we have about 8 or 9 minute conversations with our guests in chat on Zoom, or if you're on Facebook Live in the comments, please post your questions there. We'll be happy to answer them as we continue the conversation with our guests. we are very pleased and very honored to have as our charity partner an organization called Jack.org. And Jack.org is an advocacy group that supports mental health awareness for youth. And they do this at a grassroots level by engaging young people as ambassadors to get into schools and also into organizations to help young people because they do struggle, and to raise it, we cannot help them enough to raise awareness for the cause and donate any money that people do put forward on Eventbrite when they register. Not mandatory, but if you do, hey, we appreciate it. And now I'm going to pass it over to my fabulous Tuesday co-host, Reza V, who, as I mentioned, is going to have a conversation with Steph Lyster. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to stop talking, and I'm going to hand it over to Reza. My friend, take it away.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another Tuesday show. My name is Reza. And I've got to say, Steph, before interviewing you, you brought your fans in the room, because everywhere I look at it says Steph Lyster rocks. I feel like even on Facebook Live, there should be something. No, I don't think Matthew left a comment there. So Steph, I'm excited. You are, before I jump into it, you are the CEO of AnswerBar, which is on-demand access to HR knowledge, more of a subscription-based startup that people can access to so get their HR needs met. How did you come up with the idea? How did it all happen?
Well, I co-founded a company called Amui with my partner, Allison Gold. And before we started this, we sort of sat down. We were both coming from the HR consulting world for many years. And we spent about 6 months taking a look at what human resources was. It was sort of right when that disrupt HR movement was starting. And honestly, we peeled it like an onion till we got to the bottom, and all we really were left with was access, right? What really people needed, or what was missing that had kind of been offered in sort of the conception of human resources, was access for everybody. And then the second thing we sort of felt or uncovered was that HR is notorious for doing things for people. So we potentially can raise generations of managers who aren't terribly HR savvy because we're doing it for them. So those two reasons were really at the core of why we created AnswerBar. So it's an online application, a question and answer platform where everyone can have affordable access to HR. We augment HR teams to help people make them faster, more accurate, and more importantly, when people are asking their own questions and they receive that knowledge transfer from the answers, they become better.
And I like how you guys targeted towards, there are so many businesses. I met them mostly during my the last few months of going to all these events, doing all these Zoom calls. I met a lot of people who are, small enough that they cannot afford a big HR team, but they are busy enough that they really need that. So they're stuck in that gap, and this comes and fills it very nicely. And sometimes it's just the confidence of knowing HR, I go to this website, or I go to this person, or I go to this resource. Lawyers, I go to this resource. Just knowing that gives you confidence as an entrepreneur. How are you guys doing during COVID? Has it shifted? Did you guys have to manage more demand, less demand? What's happening?
It was interesting because we did launch the AnswerBar product shortly before COVID happened. And so as much as it was positioned beautifully for an event like COVID, we were still getting some brand traction, exactly to the point you just made. It's letting people know we exist so we can fill the niche that we created AnswerBar to do so. Most notably, so we're not necessarily sure how it impacted that trajectory from the launch, because it's hard to say. But what we had to do really quick, especially with the client base that we currently had prior to launch, was shift content. I mean, the questions changed, everything changed. So yeah, the laws changed. So for people who come with many years of domain knowledge, we were like anybody else, really depending on our legal teams that we're connected to, and every day staying sort of ahead of the information so that we could make sure people were able to make.
And I suspect you guys went into building AnswerBar as a solution that is scalable, because a lot of the questions are repetition. I have the same question as anybody else, and you keep getting the same question. So instead of having people spend hours and hours answering them, I would suspect you guys tried to, you know, have a more of a systematic or smart way of answering the questions that needed to get answered by AI, just get it out of the way, and then the question that were more technical, get a human being. Is that how it works?
Sort of, yeah. Actually, you did a great job. I mean, at this stage, everything is human to human driven, but we have built we've built technology, machine learning technology on the back end that what it does is it helps us find our organic content faster, as well as employment standards and case law that's pertinent. So that is all at our fingertips. So what it does is it makes us faster.
And that's great, but then in the more stable, you know, situation where the questions are more predictable, you know what the questions are. When we go through a pandemic, all of a sudden the question come from left and right, and you're not even prepared, let alone, you know, the other person. How do you handle that?
We just handled it. I know that sounds real. I have this thing. You know what? It's interesting because as much as the laws are different, right? That we have no precedent. We don't know if we force someone back to work. There were so many different, if you understood what the government was saying, and if you understood what previous legal pretense was, you could find that balance in being able to advise people to be on the right side of the law when it was tried. And so previous experience helped us do that. We also relied, we are legally connected for obvious reasons. We relied heavily on our network for that. And we tried to stay consistent across the board with our messaging. We also did a lot of things with the press. We tried to put a lot of things out on social media, and we tried to be a little proactive in educating people who weren't currently on our system as well.
It's nice how you say we just handle it, because it's the entrepreneurial spirit. You get in there, you have no choice but handling what's happening out there. The other thing I wanted to ask is who are the ideal customers for AnswerBar? Who are the perfect fit for AnswerBar?
It's a great question.
Or even the reverse. Who is AnswerBar the ideal fit for?
You know, it's a great question because it's kind of everyone. You know, when we get into larger companies above about 400, 500, at that point we are in support mostly of human resource teams, because at that point there's a very stable HR environment. So if we really to focus for companies of sort of 300 employees and under, we defy industry. It doesn't matter if there is HR, there isn't HR. Right? It doesn't matter if it's just a management team. It doesn't matter if your entire employee base is on there. We work as a coaching tool for employees. We work as a knowledge base for management. And we can be used. There really isn't these massive.
Because on the other end, I've seen, okay, so there's a solopreneur, started a startup, and then when they're hiring one or two staff at the very beginning, when they're under 10 people, they kind of research a little bit. They're not even too concerned. They're kind of, you know, managing. But as soon as they go from 10 to 20 or 20 to 30, then all of a sudden they're more concerned. They want to research HR. They want to make sure things are properly done. So I feel like when I looked at your website, I felt like people who have, you know, 20 all the way to 200, 300 range is what they would look for something like you as a solution. What is may I ask for the audience, what is the entry price point to get into that subscription?
Sure. So if you were an independent user, so you had one person asking questions, it's $100 a month.
Okay.
Okay. And everything's unlimited under subscriptions, from questions to templates. And then the next tier that goes up is up to 50 people for $250 a month. So we have an organizations of over 250 people. They have just up to 50 users on the system, paying $3,000 a year for human resources, supporting everybody.
Amazing. I'm going to jump into questions from the audience. Colin, we have some questions. You might want to ask?
Yeah, we do. Matthew Gould asks, Steph, what is a success story you and a client have generated together that you're able to share with us?
Sure. Great question. Hi, Matt. Um, we, so early on, actually, in our journey, when trying to figure out, see who exactly we're a fit for, and even if we think we're fit for everyone, one of the best ones and our longest supported client is actually a multi-location company. And so they have no centralized HR. In fact, they didn't have HR at all. And at that point, they're trying to ensure that their managers in all the different locations are making correct decisions or accurate decisions or feeling supported, and reducing legal risks and just increasing retention. And so one of the things that actually helped drive the one of the features on the platform is to actually be able to share information. So everybody's got their independent interface where they log into. It is truly confidential what you ask and you receive, but often you're getting similar questions from similar managers, or maybe one question somebody asked is relevant to another. So we created a share feature within our organization based on the experience that we had with this client for so many years, that now not only are we independently supporting each user on the platform, there's this ecosystem of internal knowledge sharing based on what we send back.
Nice.
So, and they are actually our largest client. We supported them for 3 years.
Amazing.
Love it.
Amazing.
Good stuff. Well, thanks for sharing that. And hey, we're going to flip over. We're at that quarter hour point now. Reza, Steph, that was awesome.
Thank you,
Steph, I already
Stephanie.
know what you're doing, but I learned so much more. So Reza, good conversational question asking skills there, my friend. That was really great. So appreciate that. So next up, as I mentioned, my friend Pearly Tang, we're going to have a conversation. But first, see, Reza, I'm always mixing it up here, buddy. Trying to do something new here. I'm feeling brave today. Feeling brave. I'm actually going to share my screen for a second time here. This is how crazy I am today, Reza. So we'll see how this goes. So the reason I want to do this is first to kind of set the table here with Pearly is the things that she has done and has evolved into what she's doing here. And she's going to dive into this so people can actually get the visual of this first. That I met Pearly a couple of years ago as she was working on Excel Student Solutions. And you can see there is what they're doing is actually changing the curriculum one at a time for across the world. So very timely what's gone on the last 5 months with all levels of education across the world needing to figure out how you transform immediately from traditional analog to digital and remote. So we're going to be chatting about that. But it's also very interesting what's evolved for her. So with the Young Innovators Learning Inc., the thing she's doing there with those progressive curriculums for future leaders, this all ties into that between design thinking, STEM, other areas that she's going to expand upon. So this is the evolution of Pearly's work as an entrepreneur. And the other thing that she's going to have a chance to talk about too, because it's very timely, I believe it says here starting on August 3rd, but I believe this really launches on the 10th of this month. So she's going to talk about the Win Back Wellness Summer Challenge here and some of the prizes and delighters that you can get from that. So we're going to talk about 3 different things here, but I just felt today it was important for me to kind of put that up there so people might have a better idea of the context of all the great things that Pearly's going to talk about. So Pearly, to start with that, let's talk about you at home, about how are you doing? How have you done the last 5 months? I know that it's been quite challenging for you and that you're with what you're doing and how you had to change things around family-wise first and how that's impacted you as an entrepreneur.
Right. First of all, Colin, thank you so much for inviting me. We do go way back. Yeah, the last 2 months have been tough for everybody, myself included. Actually, at this point, I've been strictly isolated at home for almost 140 days now. It's because I live with an elderly family member who's at extreme risk of COVID. So when this all started, immediately I thought, well, okay, let's go back to Excel. So from Excel Student Solutions, I started designing progressive curriculums for schools and organizations. So last fall, we launched Young Innovators in Sustainable Fashion, Young Innovators in Flavorful Science, and Young Innovators in Girls Empowerment in several schools and organizations. and the outcome was really successful. One of the grade 6-7 classes over Christmas, they so this was the Young Innovators in Sustainable Fashion program. So they were able to upcycle some really gorgeous tote bags to be filled with various necessary items for the youth of the downtown east side. So they also did a sock drive at their school and got 900 pairs of brand new socks, which they also donated with the gift totes to the youth of the downtown east side. So that was one of the outcomes of the program. When COVID hit this year, my first thought was, okay, time to put everything online. I've been thinking about that for ages. But then at that time, all of a sudden, my dad had a heart attack. So it just derailed everything. And then it was medical emergency after medical emergency, not just for him, but for other members of my family. So for the past 4 months, I've done nothing at all. I've just stayed at home, and to be honest, I've gotten a little bit depressed, and you know, my normal mental state has just fluttered a little bit. So when I got the invite from Colin to come on, it perked me up a little. I was like, oh, yay, this is something to look forward to. And recently, I was talking to some parents of my students, and they were telling me also exactly how they felt. They're a little bit also the same, feeling down, and their health is not at their optimal. So their nutrition, their fitness, their work, everything has suffered a little bit over the pandemic. So I came up with an idea. At first, it was just like a quick, easy challenge for all of us to win back our wellness and to just sort of rejuvenate ourselves. But then somehow, as I got more people involved, it snowballed into this great initiative. So I'm offering this to everyone, all the parents out there who are listening to us right now. Please come and join us. I'll give Colin the link to give to you later. So over the next 8 weeks, starting August 10th, we're going to be connecting with experts in all facets of health, from parenting, finance, nutrition, fitness, work, health and wellness, mindset and positive psychology, as well as connections and relationships. So we're going to be talking about what to do now that, you know, students are going back to school. I know down in the States, students are going to be doing homeschooling for the next year. In various parts of Canada, there's a hybrid model. In BC, the schools are opening up. And in Alberta, they just decided to give masks to both the parents and the teachers who are going back to school. So there's different plans all over in regards to going back to school. I know a lot of universities are having online education for the next semester as well.
Right, and there's just so much to look at here in the few minutes we have. But seeing what you've done for the last couple of years, it really does seem like you are poised to really harness this new normal that we're now in. That's still, whatever that normal is, it's still evolving. The normal is still evolving here. We've talked about this, using this kind of analogy on previous shows, but education and HR, also with Steph, and pretty much every profession, to actually create kind of virtual or digital tools has been well, that's 2 years or 3 years or 5 years, the slow rollout of the plan, or we'll see where the competition, or where if we have the funding for that later on. And then all of a sudden in March, it's here. So what was planned for them to think they'll roll out by 2030, we're all shoved in a time machine and basically pushed forward a decade, kicking and screaming, and like, here it is. So how do you really see this for the work that you're doing with Young Innovators Learning as an opportunity? The fact you're already digitally enabled with a lot of the curriculum that you put together here over the next year and beyond to really harness that and help all these school boards and organizations that are, to be honest, they're in disarray and there's no set standards, so they're all desperately looking for help. So let me kind of distill that down to a question. Have any educators reached out to you so far looking for help and solutions that perhaps they weren't onboarding as quickly because they thought they had more time in the future?
Oh, you're absolutely right. I think as students go back to school, both educators like teachers and parents, everybody needs help. So I've talked to some teachers who are actually very concerned about going back to school and all of the health concerns that might come up. And I think health is at the forefront of everybody's mind. So even for me too, like right now, my goal with this Win Back Wellness summer care package is actually more of a back to school care package for parents, is to get our health back on track. Because, you know, like I tell parents all the time, if you're not at your best, you cannot give your best to your family, to your spouse, to your kids. And I think this analogy works for businesses too, because your business is your baby, right? So if you're a parent and you're not putting that face mask on your face in an airplane emergency, then you cannot save anyone. You cannot save your business. You need to be at your optimal best. And that's what we hope to do with our summer care package for parents, or more like back to school care package now. And it's completely free. So there's a great weekly prize every week, and all the experts will be explaining their top tips and strategies on how to optimize yours and your family's health. With, for example, the first week, Katie Hartley is going to be talking about nutrition and how to maximize it to boost your kids' immune systems and to reduce anxiety. So I think this will be really helpful for parents, and also just in general, maybe even grandparents. So any caretaker of kids and students right now. As for the education piece, absolutely. I've heard from parents that well, over 80% of parents I've talked to have said that they think over the last few months there have been too much screen time for their kids, and they didn't know what to do about it. In fact, they're all saying that their kids are addicted to computer and video games now, and they don't know what to do about it. So we can talk about that, and we'll also talk about the best way for parents to support their students if their child has to do homeschooling. Because I know teenagers are taking to it like a fish to water, even though sometimes the homework might need a little prodding from the parents. But for the younger students, what do you do? And I have all the, I guess, the eight steps of what to do to make sure that your child thrives in a digital environment when it comes to going back to school.
Right, and I'm sure that yeah, different ages have different needs and different
Yep.
challenges, and
Yeah.
I guess one of the other big challenges that I'm sure you've come across this too, and I have some friends that are teachers both at the elementary and the high school level, and if they're if some of them are in schools where the kind of the financial level is very low, that they really have challenges there. To even have access to technology is really difficult. So it does become polarized, unfortunately, of the haves and have-nots, and I think that's kind of splintered or kind of revealed itself even more. So to be able to tackle that challenge, that everybody has access to all the tools and resources and technology that you're talking about is a challenging one, but also is really necessary so that we can thrive together to move forward. So, hey, I was going to ask, we have a couple minutes left here. Hey, Reza, do we have any questions in chat here? Or if we don't, perhaps, Reza, you're full of questions. Maybe you want to ask Pearly something. So anything in chat yet?
We don't have a question in the chat, but Pearly, I'd like to know what keeps you up at night these days.
Oh,
That's the whole show.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. So when Colin first invited me to the show, the title was absolutely perfect for me, because I've been kept up a lot the past few months just with my health issues. Not like, I don't, thank goodness, knock on wood, I don't have any health issues, but like the health issues of my family. So that's what's been keeping me up. And this whole pandemic, I can't wait for when, you know, I can be released from my house and I can finally go outside again and not feel like I'm, you know, on the verge of killing my father, pretty much. Because I tried to go out to visit a friend a few weeks ago in the park with masks and social distancing, and just felt so anxious the entire time. Like, what if I brought COVID back home? And, you know, he has every single one of the comorbidities, so it's just very challenging. That's definitely kept me up.
I definitely feel what you say. I recently lost my mom, then my brother, and then my grandfather during COVID. So a few years in a row that it happened, and I know what it's like. But entrepreneurs like you and I, a lot of times we find our passion in something that we do. We see the impact and we wrap ourselves in that, and that's the only way we can move forward with our life. Colin and I have seen so many amazing stories this past 23 episodes, and so many, you know, the spirit of entrepreneurship is amazing. And then how you know, how people go through all the stuff that they go through, and on top of that they have a business to run. So kudos to you.
Yeah, and yeah, thank you for that, Reza. And on the show, we've had quite a few guests where the overarching theme is mental health awareness for and support for entrepreneurs. Well, for everybody, but especially for entrepreneurs. So anybody watching here now live or later on YouTube when we post this, if you want to reach out to us and look in confidence here and get resources, and we can send you links to people that we're in touch with that are here to help and help remove that stigma and support you in any way that you need with the anxiety and depression and pressure of entrepreneurship, especially now. We're here for you, and we're happy to make those introductions. So with that, geez, the half hour already flew by here. We can keep on going here, but we like to kind of keep it short and sharp and wrap it up. But before I say, well, I will say right now, Pearly and Steph, thanks so much for joining us today to share not only what you do entrepreneurially, but also some insights into you personally and the journey that you're on, and continue to forge forward on the nuggets of wisdom that you provided for us today. So I'm going to turn it back over to Reza here to end today's show. So Reza, my friend, take it away.
Another Tuesday, another snappy show with Colin and I. So every Tuesday, 12:30 till 1 o'clock, we're joining you for a half an hour show. Colin, have you mentioned about the August thing we're doing?
I haven't yet, but that was a great time to do that. Just like, well, both Steph and Pearly were talking about needing to step back and taking a break. And there's nothing wrong with that, to recharge, revitalize, recalibrate. We're doing the exact same thing. At the end of this week, we've got one more show on Thursday with myself and Maryam to make that 24 shows. And then we're going to take a little bit of a break. We're going to take 4 or 5 weeks off. We'll be back hitting it hard again on Tuesday, September 8th after Labor Day. Reza and I will have our first show there. And we're going to take this to the next level. And we're really looking to make this, with the partners we have, into a national show with a national audience, national reach. We're already on that path here. So yeah, we're going to take a little bit of a break just to...
So we're going to be back in 4 weeks. 4 weeks we're going to be out. I'm going to shamelessly plug in my podcast with another co-host I'm doing. If you guys are interested in the similar content, it's called 100 Podcast. Definitely look it up. Or Reza V. Either or, we'll pull up the podcast. And I'll be back in Tuesday, the second week of September.
Amazing. So good. Everybody, thanks for joining us. Pearly and Steph, thanks so much. Everybody have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me.
Bye now.
Bye-bye. Bye.